Two-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Hump Day edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12:30 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying pretty warm. I know we've been, I guess, on the lookout for this winter weather, winter storm that is, Chase, that's supposed to be hitting this weekend. I thought it would have been colder throughout the week. I'm not going to lie. I was outside this morning and kind of shocked me. Matter of fact, looking at my weather app in the corner over here, it says 52 degrees. So not too bad in terms of temperatures right now. But again, this weekend it's supposed to get really cold. But I think it's working in the right direction, Chase, meaning if you know, this is going to be a pretty active weekend here. I think you got the basketball game against Tennessee. I know R&R Cigars is celebrating their anniversary this Friday. And while I'm talking about it, excuse me, let me remind you guys about that. Goodness gracious, sorry. R&R Cigars, if I can get this out, is celebrating their 14th anniversary on Friday. So make sure you guys, if you don't have any plans or you're looking for a place to hang out this Friday, head on over to R&R Cigars, 2703 Gary Fitz Street is where you can find them here in Tuscaloosa. They're going to have all types of specials and things going on to celebrate that 14th year anniversary. Looks like they're going to have Bobby Newman from JC Newman. He's going to be there giving away a free trip to their factory and hotel in Tampa, and that would be starting, I believe, at 5 p.m. So make sure you guys, if you want to have a place to hang out this Friday, enjoy some nice cigars, some nice bourbons, over 160 of them, but also have the chance to win a free trip to the factory at JC Newman from Bobby Newman. Make sure you guys go check out R&R Cigars. Again, their 14th anniversary. Go check them out, man. Show them some love. And if you always are looking for some deals online, you can use that code Miller's Edge. I think that's still going, and you can get you a nice discount there as well, rnrcigars.com. But they've got the best humidor in the Southeast. They got plenty of drinks. Drink responsibly, but they're always playing sports, all that good stuff. You want to go watch basketball games. You got baseball coming up. They're big on baseball. All that fun stuff, man. R&R Cigars is the place to do it. Again, that is R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. All right. Now that we told you about their big anniversary, now that I've got my throat cleared, I apologize for that, guys. I mean, my allergies have kind of been all over the place. I don't know if it's the weather or what. But that aside, in terms of some things that are kind of going on, we're going to dive into this roster outlook. If you see the title on the stream here, again, you can always watch us do the show live at the Miller's Edge on YouTube or on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page as well. And, of course, radio. We are a radio show first and foremost. But we will get to that. I'm going to wait a little bit to dive into that. We got Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. He's going to join us at the top of the hour. Really curious to get Clint's thoughts on all of the movement, all of the additions so far. And I say so far because, I mean, again, the portal technically is closed, but there still are going to be some names that could be taking visits, could be potential targets, all that good stuff. We'll then put it all together, look at our current roster where it stands, and we'll discuss that with Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson at the top of the hour. But in the meantime, a couple other things I want to point out, and I'm sure you guys have seen the news. I see folks in our chat already discussing this. So we'll probably talk about this first, and then we'll roll from here. But, Chase, I don't know when this whole thing got started or where it came from. I've been so locked in on transfer portal and football still. I mean, the national championship was just Monday. I'll be honest. We'll talk a little basketball here in a moment. When I say a moment, probably over the next few weeks or so, once they really get going. I know SEC plays now rolling. But I bring up basketball because I'm sure you guys saw this. Charles Bediako, right? Now, I know you remember that name. I mean, he was a good player for us, probably a couple years ago? It wasn't last year, Chase. I want to say it was, 2 years ago now. But I saw his name pop up online, and I was kind of confused. I was thinking it was regarding some G League news because, again, that's where he's currently at, or was, I should say, past tense, because allegedly he is suing the NCAA to get reinstated into college athletics and to be immediately eligible to return to the Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball team. Now, I had to double take, and I'll be honest, I still don't know all these details. As a matter of fact, this morning, if I'm not mistaken, wow, that was bad. I think he actually got approved a restraining order that will, in fact, allow him to return to the basketball team here in Tuscaloosa. Chase, I'll be honest with you. Listen, I know we need some help. I'm all for, him coming back and playing. It's just kind of crazy to me that this actually is going through, because I just feel like this can be, more steps in the wrong direction. No disrespect to Charles by any means. Again, I don't know all the details with this, and we'll read some more, and I want to get y'all's thoughts. Maybe you guys can inform me a little bit. But I just think when we're at the point where someone that has officially gone pro, again, I don't know all the details, but I mean, I do know he was in the G League, and he has now been granted, the ability to return to play. I just think that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know it's, I don't want to sound like I'm going against us. Hey, listen, Nate Oates, do what you do. If it's within the rules, I guess have at it. But I just hope this isn't opening the door for other movement like this. And I know Baylor had a similar situation or something like that, but I don't think that guy actually signed a contract. I mean, I'm pretty sure Bediako was like playing in the G League. Like he played games in the G League, if I'm not mistaken. So that to me is, Chase, I just think it's kind of crazy. So I want to talk about that. We'll do that first when we come back. But first, we got to hit a timeout. We'll discuss this again. I got some stuff pulled up. I know there's been literally so much movement over the last 24 hours with it. To my knowledge, I think he's literally like on the team right now as we speak. So we'll we'll discuss what's going on with that. But again, we'll also dive into this roster outlook for the 2026 season. Again, Clint Lamb will be joining us at the top of the hour. We'll discuss it with him. Plus, I want to get y'all's thoughts. 205-342-9904 number. I know we had a couple folks on the phone lines yesterday, but we had to go quick. So if you guys want to circle back, we'd love to take y'all's calls. We'll do that, before noon. Then when Clint gets on here, we'll talk with him, and then we'll open it back up when we finish up with him, probably around 12:20 or so. So that's what's on tap for today. And we'll keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge when we come back after this quick timeout. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
It's the grand reopening of the all-new Tuscaloosa Mazda.
Oh, man. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm sorry. My throat, I could not get my throat cleared, man. That was rough. Let's see what we got in here. Yeah, let me know y'all's thoughts on this whole Bediako thing. Yeah, we're going to dive into some football talk. You know how we do. But, we have to talk about this. I mean, basketball aside, I mean, I just think this is when I was reading this, I'm like, hold on. Because initially last night, the thing that I had seen was like, oh, the NCAA put out a statement like they stand firm on their decision, this, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's no way he's going to be cleared to literally and I'm like, and if anything, this is probably going to take place for the next couple of months, and maybe he can return and play next season. Guys, I mean, we're talking about this dude's on the team like right now. That's crazy. That's crazy. Even though, like I said, I want Alabama to have the best chances to win. And don't get me wrong, but it gets to a point though. I'm just imagining if we got this in football, if you had a dude that signed, undrafted, he goes to training camp. To me, this is kind of like a guy that undrafted guy, he goes to training camp, maybe plays in some preseason games, and then the next year, like in like week 3 or 4, he comes back and he's literally like suiting up for Alabama again. That's what this sounds like. And I know it's probably an apples to orange comparison, but from my understanding, I was like, wait, whoa, that's kind of wild. It's kind of wild though. Good news is, in terms of transfer portal, so we'll talk about this with Clint too. Looks like that tackle from Mississippi State, I think he was one of the later additions to the portal. I think his stuff got processed a little bit later. Appears that he's on a visit here. That'll be big. Like I told you guys, again, for all the people that are like, oh man, they got who they want in the portal, I'm like, trust me, there's a reason it was like last minute trying to get dudes, man. Like, we need some more help. The writing's on the wall there. So that's good, though. This guy looks like he started 9 games at left tackle. I don't remember him specifically, so we're going to have to pull up his tape. But, man, if we could land an experienced left tackle, again, I don't know about him as a player, so, we could pull up the tape and we could have a different story. You guys know me. Like, I don't care where you're rated or what you've done. I'm going off of what my eyes tell me. But I'm all for us adding more offensive line help. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that just that news is kind of coming out this morning. But we got to talk about this Bediako thing first, though. I mean, this is kind of nuts. State fans are extremely happy he left. So there's that. Yeah, and listen, it goes back to kind of what I was saying last week, man. Like, the reality is, like, there's not going to be a whole bunch of, like, dudes in the portal, even though I know then that sounds kind of a little bit of a contradiction because it's like, well, then why are you saying, like, Alabama needs to get these dudes? I'm saying there's still levels to, like, you know what I mean? Like, at least the guy has 9 starts. I mean, I'm not going to go too much off if fans are celebrating again because, no offense. Half the time, fans celebrate everybody. It said fans celebrated Caleb Downs leaving just as if he was a scrub, and we all know that's far from the truth. So you got to be careful with that one. And welcome back into this Hump Day edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's talk about this, Chase, because, I mean, I want to know more about this, and I'm going to rely on you guys, or if anybody listening via radio has more info on this and can call in and fill me in. I know you guys like some detectives sometimes, man. Feel free to do so, 205-342-9904. We're going to get to some football talk. There is a visit going on right now with a potential guy that I think could be very beneficial for this, I guess, continued portal update deal, whatever you want to call it. Offensive lineman, we'll start there. We'll dive into a little bit more of the details later, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But with this Bediako thing, Chase, I know you've been covering the shows this morning. What have you gathered from this? Like, is there anything that I haven't hit on that you might have seen or heard regarding this whole thing? Because this is what I had. So last night when I was scrolling, I forgot, I just saw, I think, some like beat reporters that were talking about it. And I remember seeing this, I'll put it on the screen right here, this statement. And I trust Ross Dellinger. I mean, he's the one when it comes, especially when it comes to all this NIL and transfer, all this stuff. I mean, he's on it. This was a statement from the NCAA. The NCAA is aware of media reports about a lawsuit filed against the NCAA by Charles Bediako. Mr. Bediako signed 3 NBA contracts after competing in college for 2 seasons. The NCAA has not and will not grant eligibility to any prospective or returning student athletes who have signed an NBA contract. Eligibility, sorry, I have a thing on my screen. Let me look on the other monitor. Eligibility rules ensure high school students get a shot at did I skip a whole thing? Who cares? Eligibility rules ensure high school students get a shot at earning scholarships, and we will continue to consistently apply and defend these rules. Here's the thing. Like, that bottom part, like, I know the NCAA is pretty full of crap when it comes to a lot, but if we're just being honest, think about how much of a hit high school recruiting has taken from the transfer portal itself. And we're not even talking about cases like this where people have signed professional contracts and are coming back to school, which, hell, I don't blame them. Chase, with NIL the way it was, listen, I would consider coming back to college. I'm totally kidding. I'm not doing that. But you get my point, though. I mean, like, why wouldn't you? I mean, how alluring is that? Especially with basketball. I mean, think about it. There's less guys on the team in schools that have money that they're allocating towards basketball. You can make more money playing college basketball easily than some of these rookies and young players in the NBA, especially the ones that are like on maybe a two-way or G League. Without a doubt, you can make more money. So, I mean, I get it. I don't blame them. But come on now. Like, at some point, like, and I was talking about this when some of my buddies, when we were watching the championship game, you look at Indiana, you're talking about some of the 5th and 6th year players. Again, if it's legal, everybody can do it. I'm not taking anything from what they did, but here's my thing about it. You can't deny that it is the whole 6-year deal with all these guys has really kind of thrown a wrench for like a lot of high school players and a lot of young players. I mean, think about it. I was listening to somebody, I forgot who was saying it, but it was a coach. I think it was more like basketball, but it was like, at this point, what's stopping a basketball coach from saying to hell with high school recruiting, to hell with trying to take a shot on these kids so we don't even know if they're really going to stick with us. We don't know how they're going to develop. We can just take some NIL money and just go pay some experienced, proven players, build a quick team. Basketball is a lot easier to do because, I mean, there's less players. But I say all that to say, like, this to me is like taking it a step further. And we're already like, we're finally getting to the point where, like, because think about it, Chase, the COVID deal is really what kind of transcended this whole deal with these 6 years, right? The reason a lot of these football players or basketball, whatever sport, have all these extra years really was because of COVID, right? And we're now kind of finally phasing out of all those people that had those extra years, and we're starting to get back in a rhythm. So this is why I'm just kind of like, man, like again, I'm not trying to hate on Alabama here. Again, I'm all for us having our best chances, but I just feel like I would be a hypocrite as much as I complain about the transfer portal and how much we need things to be cleaned up, then to have this take place. Like, and I don't know the rules. I don't know what the lawyers and stuff. Maybe we can read some more into it. But that leads me to my question, Chase. What do you make of all this? Like, what do you know about this that maybe I'm missing? Like, maybe let me ask you this: what's the premise of him suing? Like that, I think that's the biggest question and probably the main one. And maybe I just completely skipped over that. Like what argument is he making to return to collegiate athletics? No, I've never heard of anybody else having that argument. So what is his argument?
The argument I've read, I'm just blown away by all of this right now. It's crazy, Christian, that we're even having this conversation that he could potentially play against Tennessee this weekend. My gosh. But
this reminds me of what's that movie like? What's the movie with the dude where he like writes on the paper his age with crayon, like the Dominican picture? What's the movie?
yeah,
Like,
I saw it on
TikTok,
TikTok, like last week. Yeah.
yeah, like he's like, I'm 5 or I'm 12 or whatever. And it's like in crayon. The dude's literally like 23 and he's like sipping alcohol. But I mean, like, I'm like, are we about to get to that in college bench warmers? Thank you, Jake. Like, like this remind like, how are we about to suit up a former NBA player? Like, this sounds like a skit from like SNL or something. Anyway, go ahead, Chase. What do you got?
No, for real, it's insanity. But I'm looking into this. Bediako and his legal team are suing the NCAA because technically he still has eligibility within his collegiate career. And with the G League, which the G League is, I don't know what the G League is anymore, because you play in the G League, that should automatically rule you out of any eligibility or coming back to the NCAA. But they're arguing that he didn't play in the NBA. He came back, he played for a couple of seasons, that was it. And I didn't know this either. He's already enrolled in classes at Alabama.
Okay, well, that part you can re-enroll. I mean, I know a bunch of football players that they go back to school. Hell, matter of fact, they told me, they said they'll pay for me to go. I mean, I got my master's, I already have 2 degrees, but they're like, when I was talking to the trust with NFL, they're like, yeah, you're welcome to pursue any more education. Or anyway, so that's normal. But they didn't say, hey, if you want, go knock on Kalen DeBoer's door and see if you got an extra.
Exactly.
They said I could go get another degree, but not any more reps. I mean, come on, man. Oh, man. All right, so you said that's the premise. So they're saying he still had eligibility, and technically he didn't play. Sorry, I'm trying to get this lighting bright. He didn't play technically he didn't play in the NBA. He played in the G League, but to my understanding, I mean, that's still under the NBA. I mean,
my point exactly.
Am I missing, Chase? Am I missing something? Like, listen, the NFL doesn't have, like a development league like the G League, so it's a little bit different. I mean, the closest thing would probably be maybe a practice squad. I guess is probably the closest. Maybe the UFL, which is not formally connected to the NFL. But even then, I mean, like if someone went and played in the UFL, are they able to return to school and play? But which clearly no, but like I feel like that's where we're kind of marching to. Like maybe there's some type of, I don't know. Like I actually like that at least with basketball, they let guys declare, and then if they don't like their draft status, they can return. I don't think they've changed that with football yet. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But to my understanding, like once you declare for football, you're declared. Basketball, I mean, you can go do the combine and get grades and do all that, and if you have there's a window that you can return. Like I think that's actually smart. I think it's probably helped a lot of players make better decisions. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they did that with the NFL. Maybe let a guy go to the combine, stuff like that, or do a pro day and say it doesn't work out. Maybe that timeline's a little bit too far out. I don't know. If I just think that wouldn't be necessarily bad for football. But with this, Chase, I don't know. But here's this though. So this was an update from. So I'm using this from Mike Rodak's Twitter, 9 this morning. So when going back to the NCAA statement, once I saw the statement, I'm like, yeah, I mean, literally, that's wraps. Like, they're not going to clear that. I'm like, it's probably a long shot, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? Well, I mean, literally less than 12 hours later, Chase, this comes out, and it's a temporary restraining order that reads, this matter having come before the court for consideration upon plaintiff's motion for temporary restraining order and or preliminary injunction against defendant National Collegiate Athletic Association, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all this. But anyway, basically what it reads is he's got a restraining order, meaning that once this order takes effect, it shall remain in effect for 10 days until the hearing. And long story short, that means he's cleared to continue on with his pursuit of rejoining Nate Oates' squad for at least the next 10 days. Now, once that 10 days is up or the hearing is held and there's actually a formal decision, then that's the decision. I mean, unless there's some type of suspension or delay, I don't know. But you're right. I mean, as of now, with this order that is intact, he technically could go out there and go play and help us win a game against Tennessee. But here's my question, though. Say that is the case and he does go out there and play, but then they formally deny this motion. Are we then going to have to worry about having a win vacated? Because could Tennessee then argue, well, they used a professional player in the matchup in that ball game? I don't know. To me, it's just too much, man. And listen, I thought he was great when he was here. I thought he should have stayed. I know a lot of people felt that same way. Hell, especially, I mean, NIL was a thing. Like, I don't know why he was quick to leave, but who I don't know. I don't know everybody's situation or circumstances that he might have had more reason. But my thing, Chase, I just feel like this is just a little, at this point, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, there he is wearing a Spurs uniform. I don't think that's AI. So, and I know it's not, again, I don't think he played an official game, but still, I mean, I don't know. I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. 205-342-9904 is the number if you guys want to jump in on the conversation. I see plenty of chats. We'll discuss those and more. But again, as of now, Charles Bediako, former and current Alabama center, is in the headlines this morning as he literally has been ruled eligible after serving, I guess, the past 2 years in the NBA G League. So kind of crazy stuff there. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling. Plus, we'll start segueing a little bit into some football talk again. You got a visit from an offensive lineman with some experience right now that's taking place. Could be something that we should monitor, and we will monitor and possibly discuss all that and more right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
At Mercedes-Benz of
Nah, but really, Carson, I mean, he literally is like former and current. Like, I mean, that's like crazy to say, but he is, bro. He literally is a former and current player. Like, yo, this is honestly like, let King Henry come back and take the rock another year. You know what? Hey, as much as I would love that, if I had to pick, leave Derek, let Derek continue to be great. Let's take back some of our offensive linemen from a few years ago that are some dogs and then bring those dudes back. like, please. Let's do that. No, we need more bigs, but Nate Oates should not risk this move. I mean, I'm with you. Is it really worth doing all this? Like, seriously? Like, is he actually going to play? Like, and maybe they're smart enough to maybe not necessarily play him in the game. Maybe they're like saying, okay, he's back. He's going to work out with us, practice with us while we wait on the official ruling. Read up a little bit. Gave you a comparable case that gives Bediako grounds. I disagree with either plan, but is that I heard something about a guy from Baylor, but allegedly that guy did not sign his contract or something like that. You'll take Josh Jacobs and O-line and Reuben Foster. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a good talking point when we come back real quick. I mean, if we were going to play this game with football, we could snatch back somebody from James Najee. Is that what that is? I'll look it up. If we were going to play this game with football, who would we resurrect? That's probably a bad word to use. Who would we re-recruit? Who would it be for football? If we could go back and grab somebody from football and bring them back. Only one person. We'll play this game real quick because we still got some time. I'm trying to think. You got to make it a good one because it can only be one person, man. If you could resurrect, or let me not use that. Christian Miller. And listen, I appreciate that. That's very kind. But listen, there's a number of guys that were probably a little bit more impactful than me. But thank you. I appreciate that. Hell, Rolando McClain, yeah, not only for how much of a how great of a football player he is, but you talk about a dog. Rolando would turn that locker room inside out. That's a damn good one. Yeah, that's a damn good one. Henry, yeah. Okay, Derek Thomas. Okay, now we might have taken the word resurrect a little too literally there. Okay, let me stop. Dieter, that's an interesting one. Speaking of Dieter, we need to get Dieter back on here, man. Yeah, that's why I said let me change the wording. The wording's bad here. Let's not maybe resurrect was a bad word. Let's use let's resign. There we go. We'll resign. Yep. That's yeah. Yeah, we'll do resign. We're going to resign. CJ Mosley, just talked with him yesterday. Just spoke with him yesterday, man. I don't think he has any interest in coming back. I mean, he's got his agency that he's doing a great job with. So he's probably sorry, somebody at my house. All right, let's see. It's always a small one too. That the little dog you guys always see. He's always the loudest in the room. And he's like he thinks he's top flight security, and he's not going to do anything. Now the big one, it's a different story. And welcome back into this hump day edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We were playing a game real quick in the chat. Again, we got Clint Lamb coming up at 12. We got plenty of time. We're going to talk some football for sure, and some updates, transfer portal updates, roster outlook. We're going to get into that. But again, this Charles Bediako news is kind of taking everybody by storm. But we were playing a game real quick, and I want to throw it out for our radio listeners too, because I know you guys want to get involved with this stuff. You can drop it in the app message, your answers, or call in 205-342-9904. But my question was, I don't want this to ever be the case. Let me just preface by saying that. But if we were going to play this game with football, and I need to reword it, if we were going to be able to re-sign, and we were going to be able to re-sign former Bama players back to this Alabama football team, who would you pick? And you only get one, right? You can't pick a whole unit, whole team. As great as that would be, can't do that. We had a bunch of great answers here in the chat, but if you could pick one player to pull a Bediako and re-sign back into the college athletic scene after turning pro, who would that be? I was looking through the chat. We got a bunch of answers, but it seems like there's a common theme. I'm seeing a lot of linebackers, a lot of the dogs that we had at linebacker. I see those, and some offensive linemen. But let's read some of these. Again, we saw first one was Christian Miller, right? And so thank you so much. But all right, let's be honest here. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys. The listeners are very, very kind. But yeah, I'm sure we could probably get somebody that probably would make even more of an impact. Not down on myself, but I'm very realistic. I think I had a good career, but there's definitely some better ones. Will Anderson, the way he's playing right now, hell, young, fresh. We'll take him back. Talking about, fixing some of that pass rush. I think that's a great one. You see Mac Wilson, Evan Neal, got an offensive lineman in there. Pat Surtain, PS2, that's lockdown. Rolando McClain. I love that one because we need linebackers, but also you talk about a culture changer. That's him. I think that's a great one. Glenn Coffey. Glenn's a great dude, by the way. He was on staff when I was here. You talk about a dude he's just built different, man. Built different. Trent Richardson, we definitely could use some help in the backfield. Derek Thomas, best to ever do it at that outside backer spot. Derrick Henry, definitely a popular one. We saw a bunch of those, probably a handful of those. D'Amico Ryans, I don't know if that was for him as a player or a coach, but always a good one. Julio, that's a good one. Man, there's literally a bunch. I mean, you can't really go wrong. But you got some linemen here. Cam Robinson, Andre Smith. Never going to be mad at that. Bryce Young. We got to vote for Bryce Young. Cornelius Bennett. Barrett Jones. It's a long list, man. It's a good list. Mac Jones. Julio Jones. Bunch of Joneses. Chase, floor is yours, man. If you could re-sign one Bama guy that went pro, like Bediako, to come back, give you some more reps, a retirement tour, so to speak, like John Cena, one final year, man. Well, I guess he technically would have 2 years. Anyway, you get the point. Who would you re-sign, Chase? If you get one person, man, only one.
Only one? It can't be two.
Nah, well, I mean, is Bediako bringing Colin Sexton with him, or?
Dude, why not? Let's go hit up the Charlotte Hornets real quick and see if he ain't playing.
Oh, yeah. No, to get Brandon Miller while we're talking, shoot. Yeah. I mean, take the whole roster. But yeah, if you get one guy, Chase.
I'm picking Dante Hightower.
I
got to bring him back. Watching his highlights and what he did from the Crimson Tide, I think it's just insane how ruthless he played. Just being able to really establish the linebacker position.
Yep.
Versatile
too.
Yeah.
Inside, outside. Yeah. No, he could get after the quarterback. I mean, he could line him up at any linebacker spot, inside or out. And he was not only effective, but I mean, he was dominant. You know what I mean? A physical player. I mean, had elite size, could rush the passer, drop in coverage, play the mic if you need. I mean, he could do anything you need. That's a damn good one, Chase. I like that. I like that a lot, man. Speaking of a guy like that, I was watching, saw a clip of Xavier Griffin, young man that we're bringing in. I'm excited about him. And I know we talk so much about transfer portal guys and older players who are here. And I don't want you guys to think that we're just sleeping on any of these incoming guys. I just know, there's probably going to be a couple young true freshmen that make an immediate impact. Not saying they don't play. I'm sure there's going to be a handful that play, especially with how young this team is. But in terms of really making a true impact, and listen, he's got all the tools, Xavier Griffin, that is. I mean, he's a versatile guy. I can see him playing both inside, playing some wolf, kind of like what you're describing. The biggest thing with him is I think he's going to have to get in the weight room, get bigger and stronger. And the quicker he can do that and develop physically, I think the better of a chance he's going to have to see in the field even earlier. Because I think there's opportunities there in terms of, the competition's pretty much wide open at middle linebacker right now at both spots. Even for that third kind of rotational guy that they use at Wolf. I know you got Yanze Pierre, Justin Hill, but there's going to be opportunities even from like a third down standpoint where maybe that's, where he finds his footing early on. But just seeing him move, man, I like that kid a lot. I mean, I know they mentioned him having a Jahad Campbell type role. I mean, that's exactly how I would probably utilize him. But anyway, getting away from the game we were playing. But I don't know. I just you saying Dante Hightower reminded me of him. He kind of has that type of skill set. And now totally different body types. I mean, this young man is a lot thinner, but probably a lot more athletic. He just needs to put on some strength and mass, which he will do once he gets in this system. But anyway, that's a good answer, Chase. Really good answer there. Let me see if we got a couple more that I might have missed. Somebody said, honestly, Carson said, honestly, just bring Tyler Booker back, man. And we're going to bring one O-lineman back. I would say give us a left tackle. Booker is a dog, don't get me wrong. But I would take a tackle. I would probably, if I had to pick a tackle, it'd be hard not to go Cam Robinson for me, man. I mean, you're just talking about just having everything in one package in terms of, he's strong. He's got length. He's like 6'7". Got those sweet feet, great change of direction. I mean, he physical in the running game, not a liability in pass pro. I mean, he's got elite footwork. Cam Robinson would probably be, you really couldn't go wrong with any of the guys I played with, whether it was Cam, whether it was Jonah, hell, even somebody like Jedrick. We went on a run of like first round tackles, like back to back to back to back. Man, there's just so many. I mean, the chat is just filled with all these Bama names, and it's like giving me nostalgia because I'm seeing guys from before I got here, guys I played with, some of the young guys I played with or got here right after me. Man, just makes you realize we had some dogs, man. And speaking of that, I don't know if you guys saw this. They're doing like a 6-part docu-series on Coach Saban. I'm fired up for it. Maybe your boy will get a little snippet in there. I'm not, no, they didn't interview me, but I'm saying maybe there'll be like a little clip of me doing like, I don't know, getting yelled at. I got yelled at a number of times. There's like a viral clip of him chewing me out on the sideline. Maybe they throw that in there. Maybe, I don't know, like doing some fourth quarter stuff. I don't know. Selfishly, I'm like, damn, I hope I get a little clip in there. Because that's legendary, guys. A six series docu, wait, 6-part docu series. All right, there we go. On the GOAT, man. I'm fired up. I don't know exactly when it drops. Maybe you guys saw the date. I just saw the little preview for it, but it's gonna be good, man. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, let me stop rambling. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back. Let me see. I think we got Rick on the phone lines. We'll take Rick's phone call when we come back. Plus, we got some app messages to get to. We'll hit those. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson and discussing transfer portal updates, the latest on this roster, our outlook on it going into 2026, and more. All right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
I'm attorney Stephen Missouri.
Damn, them names are still going. That's just it's so okay. Really? All right, Carson. All right, that's enough. That okay. Really? Really, Carson? What about Duke suing Mensa? That's another good point to bring up. But here's my thing, guys. I mean, if a dude don't want to play for you, don't want to play for you. But I at the same time, man, business is business. And if you're signing a contract, man, like if you put pen to paper, I mean, you got to be held accountable. You got to be held accountable. Yeah. Now, clearly, Miami would probably cover any type of legal results there, if I had to guess. But I mean, didn't the Washington quarterback? He ended up backing out of the transfer portal, and he ended up staying put. I mean, to be fair, I think you have to hold people accountable. If not, I think you just set a precedent where people just think they can just get away with whatever. You know, and I hate for it to be like that, but I mean, at some point you do have to draw the line. I mean, I'm the first one to tell you, I mean, what the NCAA was doing before where we got no compensation, and I'm not even saying like, oh, we should have been paid all this money. What I'm saying is like, I literally could, like when I was playing, all the money that let's just talk about Alabama. Think about how much money all of us players here at the University of Alabama, with all the success that we were having, think about how much money we were generating in revenue, and we didn't see any of that. Like, think about how crazy that is. You know what I mean? Like, that's absolutely nuts. So that being said, like, listen, something needed to change. And I'm not even saying like from a perspective like they should have been paying us. Oh yeah, thanks, Phil. If you guys haven't, man, we got 88 in here. I think we got like 27 likes. If you guys don't mind, man, while we're on this timeout, hit that like button real quick. I'll take 2 seconds. Just hit that like button. That always just helps us push the algorithm, get more people involved, and all that good stuff. I appreciate that, and thanks for the reminder, Phil. But again, I couldn't even like if I wanted to do like an autograph signing or something like that, or anybody, hell, even somebody who. I mean, just think about it. Like, imagine if like Tua wanted to do an autograph signing. I mean, think about how much money he would have made while he was in school after 2nd and 26. He couldn't even do that, which is the dumbest thing. Like, why can't he make money off his own name? But they could make money off our names. But they could sell jerseys that don't have a name on the back, but have 13 on, and everybody knows who the hell is talking about. I mean, they're nuts. So something had to change. But now I feel like we're at a point where like. I feel like they're so scared of getting sued that they got their hands tied behind their backs. They just let anything happen. Somebody said, what about the or that playbook that he had in that snippet? I told you guys, you thought I was capping when I showed you guys that playbook from one game, right? The install / game plan book that I have. Like, that was one game. You thought I was kidding, man. Like, that's why. If you see his, I'll pull it up real quick. Let me see. What is it? I think it's on X. I mean, I could only imagine all the stuff he had. Oh, here it is. That was a playbook, or that too. Yeah, I mean, look at Chap. Big Chap. Speaking of Dante, AJ. Let's see what we got. Nickel flex. What is that? See if we know that call. Move my light for 2 seconds. Nickel flex sapphire. Oh, is that? Oh, Saratoga adjusted, I think. Yep, we ran that. Flex Saratoga adjusted. It's a pressure. Everybody's working on a line up front. You're long. Yep, defensive end's long, sticking to the A. He's crossing the face of the center. I remember that call. And welcome back to this hump day edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got Rick up first. Rick, welcome in.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you taking my call. Enjoy your show. Just a quick note on the football thing. It's funny you mentioned all those players, but I didn't hear any quarterbacks. So I was kind of thinking, unless the NFL values quarterbacks, why we wouldn't think that a quarterback be the most important person to bring back. But maybe,
I can tell you.
I
can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why. Because if you don't fix the other stuff, the quarterback means nothing. If we haven't learned that over the last two, I mean, listen, Jalen was a phenomenal quarterback. Ty is a very good quarterback, likely first-round draft pick. And you guys see, I mean, if you don't have an offensive line, if you don't have trench play, it means nothing. So that's why.
And I understand that totally. I was thinking even A.J. McCarron come back and try to get his third championship. That'd be pretty sweet for him, I'm sure. But no, I would do it only if I knew I could also get a second, left tackle, either like you mentioned, Cam Robinson, or maybe even go back to Chris Samuels, all pro, everything guy, from Skins or whatever. But anyway, it's an interesting question. But get to the basketball. I just heard your comments talking about Bediako. I'm not going to get on here and try to defend what they're trying to do. However, I will say, I mean, we don't. Our culture really doesn't have rules anymore, right? And not a lot of common sense. And that's not just in sports. So I'm not going to get on there and preach about all that, but it's just pretty insane when we think about some of these things. But you realize that from what I understand, I read there's at least over half a dozen players, G League players, that are already been given the pass to play college ball again. So this is not something new with the G League, him playing in the G League and trying to come back. It's already happened. Now, he's a bigger name maybe than the ones that I read, but it has happened. Now, then you get into, well, he signed this contract or that contract or whatever it is, but he never played an NBA game. So I can see from his standpoint and from Nate Oates' standpoint, Nate's just doing, Nate wants high school recruiting. He said that that's what he prefers, but he also has a job to do, and he sees what other people are doing. So he's feeling like, hey, we're going to stay up here. We need to be able to do, if it's allowed, then we're certainly going to do it. So I'm not here to defend Nate either, but I just feel like you got to look a little bit beyond that and say, hey, there is more to this, and they're going to rule one way or the other. If he's done too many things, made too much money, I don't think money matters anymore either. But I will say this also, that which this is the first thing that kind of came up this year that was particularly perturbing to me, is that players are now, both European and U.S. players, playing 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years in the European League, and then now they're playing for NCAA teams. They're 20, 21, 22-year-old freshmen playing for some of the big teams all over the country. And they played in Europe for 2 years. Or 3 years.
Yeah.
So how is that right for them? First of all, they're taking away scholarships from U.S. guys, which I don't like. But beyond that, they're already basically at the pro. They play pro ball in Europe. That's not the NBA. We know that, but it's still they get paid to do it over there. And then they're coming back and playing in colleges or signing them. I think Auburn's guys, one of those guys from Lafayette or somewhere, he's a 20-year-old freshman, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say all that, it's just there's no real rules to any of it.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I'm reading up on another guy. You're 100% right. So Bediako's not the first. I know there's a guy with Baylor, but somebody said that he didn't sign a contract. But this is a little bit different. This is more like Bediako. Thierry Darlin, allegedly he spent the 24-25 season in the G League, but then was ruled eligible by the NCAA to return to Division I college basketball. And I don't know what the difference is between him in terms of all the contract details, but it will be interesting. But it does state that guy had 2 years of eligibility remaining, so he returned as a true junior. And he wasn't just a practice player in the G League. He actually was a rotational piece and played in 29 games, averaging 10.9 points. Yeah, it sounds like maybe they are kind of going off the basis of some of those international guys like you're referencing, because the article also does state how some of these 21-year-old freshmen from like Croatia and overseas end up coming and playing here after being professional. So I'm glad you brought that to my attention, because that is
exactly.
You're right, and that's why I said I'm sure they're. Nate Oates and the compliance department here, they're not idiots, right? So I mean, obviously, if they're allowing it, they're gonna have some type of expert opinion or something that means it's probably okay. That's why I said I'm not. Whatever they think falls within the rules, within the rules. I'm just saying, from my perspective, even the examples we just talked about, I even just think those need to be cleaned up some, because I just feel like at this point, like, college athletics is really just becoming a minor league. It's just like it's another professional league. It's just wrapped up in a bunch of other different stuff. I mean, the way football is being run right now, it is totally different from when I got here in 2014, not even that long ago, right? And it's totally different. It's totally different, and it's unfortunate to see it. I'll be honest with you, but like you said, I mean, if it's within the rules and that's what everybody is doing, I mean, if you want to compete, you got to keep up with the crowd, even though we might not like it.
And sometimes things that happen, Christian, that will cause something. I don't know what it is. To me, it's already gone way beyond what's reasonable anyway. But at some point, they're going to rule and do something, and then they're going to say, wait, we got to stop here and relook at this. To me, it's already happened in football. It's already happened in basketball. I mean, for the average fan, I mean, I don't know about how everybody else feels. Part of my enjoyment of the game is the recruiting part of it. Okay, I enjoy seeing the guy. I don't care about the stars as much, just to see who we value and think they'll come in and help our program, right? So once they get here, then we're like, okay, I get to watch them develop and get better. And be able to contribute. And that's part of the enjoyment of the game. It's not just going to the game and see us beat somebody, whatever. It's all about seeing them develop. You kind of begin to have an attachment to them. I mean, I believe Alabama's got more starters on other basketball teams in the SEC than anybody, right?
Yeah.
Pringle, Dan Reed, all these guys are starting somewhere else. We love to watch them develop. Ryan Griffin's contributing to Texas A&M. It's just they're all over the board. So to me, I mean, I don't. It's not like I want to punish the player, but it is taking away part of the enjoyment of the game. They ought to be able to bring them in, put them on a 3-year contract or something. At least keeps them where the coach can develop it and hopefully work out for the best for them. But I don't know. It's a lot of that is taking away the enjoyment of the game, really, when you can't see them develop and so forth. I hated it when they had the rule in basketball as a one and done, because, I mean, they didn't have that when Robert Ory and Charles Barkley and those guys were playing. We got to watch them play and develop, and then they took off to the pros. But anyway, that's just my view. I just hope that we'll at some point dial it back, have some rules, make it fair for the players. They're going to get paid, but still be able to have some controls over what's going on. It still baffles me that it's gone this far.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's why it's it's unfortunate, because that's what separated college athletics, right? That development piece, right? Seeing guys like, even for me, I mean, I showed up here 17 years old, turned 18 a couple months later, and when I left here, I was a young man, and I had experienced so many great things being a part of this university. And I watched myself go from that young, skinny kid that, came from Columbia, South Carolina. When I left, it was a totally different thing. I walked out with 2 degrees, and like that was what college and college athletics was about. But right now, it's really just become free agency year after year, guys going and playing, like you just mentioned, at one school to another. I mean, lucrative contracts that aren't even really being upheld. And it really just feels like another professional league. And it feels, I don't know, just like everything else you see with the NBA and NFL. But Rick, I appreciate it, man. Great stuff. And thank you for that insight and info.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Enjoy your show.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Take care. We got to hit this top of the hour break. When we come back, we're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson to talk some Alabama football right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and WT.
Yeah, he was right, though. I mean, he definitely was right about a lot of that. Now, I will say, I mean, it's hard to say, like, oh, you got to lock these guys down 3-4 years. I mean, I'm okay with maybe like a one-time transfer because you never know. I mean, sometimes things just don't work out. But outside of that, he's right, though. I mean, it really just feels like almost like a secondary professional league at this point. Let me run for 2 seconds. I'm going to throw the little, what's it called on the screen, little highlights. When we come back, we got Clint Lamb. So I'll be today. That's 205-393-9149. Asphalt Restoration, where smooth roads start. Roll Tide.
From our home base in Birmingham, Alabama, we are here
treating patients from every generation
across the.
All right. Would you commit to this coaching staff and stay like you did with this staff and scheme? Oh, that's a wait. Whoa, that's a good question. Whoa, that's man, that's a dang good question. I That's a very good question. Dang, we had like 30 people dip. I said I was gonna be right back. People are patient, man. Now let me share this real quick. I'll answer that in a minute, though. Let me get Clint on here. That's a damn good question, though.
Harding Construction at 205-752-9611.
This is Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9.
And welcome back into this Hump Day edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, where we're now joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us every week, giving us some great Alabama football insight. Clint, portal's finally closed. Still some activity going on. How's everything been? Have you been able to rest up a little bit, slow down, or is everything still full speed?
I wouldn't say it's quite full speed, but it certainly hadn't slowed down to the degree that I probably thought that it would. Alabama's still searching to improve its roster, but it's been great, man. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I can't complain. I've finally been able to take a step back from some of that tape that I was watching, so I'm glad I can relax a little bit there. But yeah, you're right. It's still definitely going. Hey, I just saw we have another visit right now by an offensive lineman with some experience, which I think still is very necessary right now. So that's good. Definitely going to be monitoring that. But let's just jump into it, man. Tell me your overall, I guess, outlook right now. We can probably start. I know there's a lot to cover, so I don't want to have you talking for 10 minutes. I wouldn't do that to you. But let's start with the offensive additions, maybe, right? We'll start with maybe the offensive line. You got Noah Rodgers, some of these guys. How would you don't have to necessarily grade it, Clint, but how would you guess, I don't know, describe or just give your perspective on what Alabama was able to do on the offensive side in the transfer portal so far with this 2026 roster?
Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of competition. You love that. I think there's a lot of, potential starters at a lot of the positions on offense, particularly along the offensive line. But, I think at running back, there's still a lot up in the air. You don't know what the pecking order is going to look like. You don't know how much Xavier Crowell was going to factor into the mix. You look at quarterback, two very talented guys in Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, and I'm excited to see how they, start this quarterback battle in search of replacing Ty Simpson. But at tight end, you've got guys like Caleb Edwards and Marshall Pritchett, and kind of how do they continue to develop entering year two? How does a guy like Max Sutter, does he come in and chip in or contribute? How does Danny Lewis bounce back from the injury? How does Josh Ford do, transferring over from Oklahoma State? There's just a lot of competition and a lot of uncertainty. So that's going to create a wide range of possible outcomes. And it's tough to kind of predict exactly where they're going to finish or how they're going to finish as far as, trying to take a step forward on offense. But at the same time, I do think it creates some really interesting conversations. And I think, in a lot of ways, if you can get the experience and development that you need at some of these positions, I think you can be okay. But there's a lot that's still up in the air with this offense in particular.
You're 100% right. And that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of have the wait and see approach with a lot of what's going on. I know some people are kind of like, oh, why do you sound like you're so down on the roster? I'm like, it's not that. It's just the way I view it is this, man. I mean, I just know our biggest issue over the last, not just past year, but over the last couple of years is what? I mean, the front seven in the trenches on both sides of the football, offensive line, and then even, front seven on defense, I feel like we need to keep getting better there. And so, in my opinion, I'm just like, I see what we're losing on both sides of the ball. Let's just start with the offensive line. You're losing 4 of the guys from last year. Only guy returning as a starter was a true freshman in Michael Carroll. Then you got Will Sanders with some, experience coming in and playing in several games. But outside of that, everybody's new. And when you're replacing those guys with more young developmental guys, to the likes of the players that you had already just lost via the transfer portal, to me, I have no choice but to have a wait and see approach, just because I just feel like, like you said, it's nothing but really question marks to this point. Because I went back, and I know you do the same thing. I watched the tape on all these guys that we've added. And while there definitely is potential, a lot of them are raw, still developing. And, just they're kind of developmental guys. That's what they are right now at this stage. But we'll have to see kind of where they can get to going into the season, because regardless, according to your chart, which we always we like to utilize, that way we can get an update. So thank you for taking the time to do that. But I think our oldest offensive lineman right now on paper is like a redshirt sophomore. Is that correct?
I think Racing Delgatti and Ethan Fields, they're both redshirt juniors. But you're right, as far as returning guys, it's Will Sanders and it's Casey Poe, and they have, but Will Sanders has a little bit of experience, but Casey Poe has next to none. So as far as returning players, I think there's only maybe 4 or 5 returning offensive linemen, and you got a true sophomore, Michael Carroll. You got a couple of redshirt sophomores, and then you got a couple of redshirt freshmen. So, yeah, there's the experience factor on the offensive line. I think Racing Delgatti, Brooks has some. Will Sanders has a little bit. Michael Carroll is obviously a returning starter, but he wasn't like a full-time 12, 13, 14, 15-game starter for Alabama. And so that's why I think that this offensive tackle, Javen James from Mississippi State, could potentially be a pretty big get, because not only does he have a year of starting experience in the SEC, but he's also got another year of starting experience at Akron. So, I think that would, from an experience standpoint, would really help things out. But, yeah, it's a very inexperienced group overall.
Yeah, and they're going to be probably the position that I'm paying the most attention to during the spring, because I've said it year after year, and I still fully believe this. Even though I like both the young quarterbacks that we have, they also are inexperienced, haven't played much ball themselves. And pairing a young, unproven quarterback, or I should say, a quarterback that's a new starter, to me, with a young, inexperienced offensive line, that's a little nerve-wracking to think about. But we'll have to see kind of how it all plays out. On the other side of the ball, Clint, you lose guys like James Smith, Jordan Renaud, Quay Russaw, and some of the guys you bring in are by the likes of Tompkins from USC, the other USC, in terms of South Carolina. You bring in, I'm just going to call him Zulu. I think that's a little bit easier. And then the young man from Mississippi State and also Oregon. So you bring in some reinforcements. But from what I've seen out of the players, I'll be honest with you, watching their tape, I can't quite say that they're necessarily as good or better than what we had lost. So I have some concerns on the other side of the football. What were your assessments of those players specifically up front that Alabama brought in via the transfer portal?
Yeah, I think there's, once again, it's just some uncertainty. Now, granted, I think you added a little bit more experience. I think that in a lot of what you're probably going to see from them up front defensively, I think they addressed not only, some of the potential starting concerns, but also some depth concerns. But when you look at the group, and I was kind of comparing it on Twitter yesterday, and just, like Terrence Green being a Tim Keenan replacement.
Yeah, I like that one.
A guy like that. Yeah, I do too. I really like Terrence Green. I think he's going to be a good player. And I loved Tim Keenan, and he was an absolute ox in there for Alabama for the last, multiple years. But then you look at a guy like London Simmons. I think more than likely they move him to that 3-tech, and he takes over for James Smith. He's a good run defender. I think he's got some level of upside as far as being a pass rusher. But, as much as I love James Smith, and I do think the further we've gotten into this process, at first you think, okay, they're going to go out and they're going to find a James Smith replacement. And Devin Tompkins, will he replace, some of those snaps at that position? Sure, but I think they're different players. And so it's kind of hard to say that he was going to replace what James Smith brought to the table. Now, London Simmons, on the other hand, I think to some extent he can. And then you're getting Jeremiah Beaman back from an injury. So as far as London Simmons being that second nose, that rotational piece, you're now inserting Jeremiah Beaman into that mix. You've got guys like, Edric Hill and Isaiah Faga and Stephen Boomwatt. It's the same players, but they're all going to be a year older. So you would expect some sort of positive growth, but at the very least, you wouldn't expect any of those guys to get worse. And then you start looking at the bandit position and kind of some guys that they've brought in versus guys that you've lost. Now, what I will say is I went and watched Keon Keeley quite a bit yesterday, and it had just been a while. You watch it throughout the season, and I thought he did some good things, but I also think there was some, still a lot of room for improvement. But I wanted to specifically compare him and Zulu, because I think in a lot of ways, Zulu kind of is that Keon Keeley replacement where he doesn't quite fit at bandit. Definitely not a player that you're probably going to want to play at Wolf. He feels more situational, but at the same time, we'll just have to wait and see how that ends up turning out, because you ended up having injuries that forced Keon Keeley into more of an every down rotational role. You might see Zulu find himself in a similar situation. So I wanted to compare them. And I think Zulu does have some upside, but Keeley was just better than I remember. I mean, I know it just happened, but I mean, he did do some really good things. And I think him being 282 pounds, I think they did that for a reason. I think that they probably felt, all the other bandits on the roster, they all pretty much dropped weight from the spring to the fall as far as the roster when it was updated, except for Keon Keeley, who continued to add weight. I think that was probably the result of the coaching staff saying, we feel like he needs as much mass as possible to make him a more effective run defender. LT Overton didn't need to be 283 pounds to be an effective run defender. He was effective at 278, which is where he, I don't know if that's exactly where he played, but that's what he was listed at. But I'm looking at a guy like Zulu, and I'm saying, well, I think in a lot of ways he can replace some of the elements that Keon Keeley brought to the table. But you also lost Jordan Renaud, you lost LT Everton, Tim Keenan, James Smith, even a guy like Kelby Collins, who provided a little bit of flexibility. And so there's still just a lot of unknown when it comes to this defensive front. I do think overall, when you start comparing apples to apples and kind of piecing it together, I don't necessarily think there's going to be any sort of significant drop off. And I do think, obviously, if certain guys click and it just fits the system a little bit better and you've gotten a little bit bigger up front, maybe that ends up you can do more of what you want to do. But what I'm hoping for is at bare minimum they can kind of give you what last year's group did. There's no guarantee of that, but that is at least the hope right now.
We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Make sure you guys check out all the great work that they do. If you haven't already, I'm sure you guys have. They do a phenomenal job. YouTube at Cover Crimson, X at Cover Crimson. Also, Clint R. Lamb on X is his personal. Clint, I'm glad you brought up that point, because that's kind of like the perspective that I'm trying to, I guess try to paint when I'm telling people. Because again, I mean, I watch a lot of tape on these guys, and when I say this, I mean it's out of respect. It's the players that we brought in. I can't be honest here and say that they're better players than what we lost, whether it's to the draft or even to the portal. And that's why, so to your point where you say, yeah, you hope that they can maybe give you what you got out of last year's group. The next step is when some people, they don't want to hear that. My thing is so even if we do get what we got out of last year's group, we can all sit here and agree what we got out of last year's group wasn't enough. And I would argue that if you watch that national championship game and you watch Miami and Indiana, who we played, and we know how that went, that team we had last year, it was on a little bit lower of a level. If we're just being completely honest here, I wouldn't have seen our team in that national championship game probably on the same level as those teams that we saw. And so that said, my thing is I'm just trying to figure out the direction of, if we know we need to be better, where is that better coming from if the personnel we're bringing in doesn't necessarily directly indicate that? And so I guess to your point, maybe they feel like the fit could help, I guess, bring that level of competition. I'm not sure, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. But that's what I always try to explain when people kind of hear that and they're like, oh, well, you got to give them a chance. I'm giving them a chance, but I'm just telling you what my eyes tell me from going off of tape. I can't confidently say we necessarily upgraded. But like I said, I mean, we got a lot of ball to play, and we'll have to see. But let me ask you this, Clint. When you look at this roster with the new additions, but even the guys returning, what's your overall outlook like as a whole? I mean, because you do have a secondary that is extremely experienced. Really, you return every starter outside of Damani Jackson and then Cam Calhoun. He was a depth piece, but he left. Outside those guys, Deshaun Jones graduated. You bring everybody back, so that's a big news. But the front seven's probably going to look damn near totally different. We know the offense is pretty much going to look totally different. As a whole right now, where this roster stands, how confident are you in Clint that it can be a roster that's capable of making a run and competing against the likes of some of those teams that we saw a little bit further in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think if you're comparing it to the, Miami in the trenches or Indiana pretty much as a whole, I don't think they're even on the trajectory right now, if I'm speaking candidly. Now, that could change. If you end up evaluating some of these players right, and you end up getting contributions, which I do think guys like Jamarian Matthews and Nolan Wilson, they can come in and help your defensive line. Are they going to be superstars to a point and be ready to play with the physicality over the course of an entire season to elevate you to that status? I mean, I think that would be completely unfair as far as the expectation. So while I am saying these things, and there is upside with a lot of these players, like I do think there's quite a bit of upside with Devin Tompkins, but is his upside any more than what LT Overton gave you? Because I think kind of as being an interior, an inside out option and being, a potential day one pick, more, than likely a day two pick, is Devin Tompkins going to replace LT Overton to that extent? And that's, a TBD, but overall, I think that, it would take a lot for him to be able to do that. I look at really the offense and defense in general, and I say, there's way too much in 2026 that is unknown for you to sit here and say, oh, do you know how many different things have to come together for it to look like it looked for Indiana? Or even with some of the limitations that Miami had, just how dominant they were at some pretty key spots, including in the trenches, which is, I think, by far the most important place. Right. It's hard for me to say Alabama's going to be ready to be in that type of, tier. But with that being said, I'm starting to think that a lot of this is more so aimed at 2027. Now, they would never admit that, and I know fans certainly don't want to hear that. You don't want to go through a year of, 8-4, 9-3, and maybe miss the playoffs, or maybe you get to the playoffs, but then you get completely, railroaded like you did against Indiana. Like, no one wants to experience that again. But that's kind of the reality of the situation based off of how the roster currently looks. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm not trying to, discourage Alabama fans. I'm just telling you that a lot has to come together in order for you to field a roster that would be competitive enough to go against those types of teams. So that's just something that Alabama fans have to realize going in. I think we should all just enjoy the process a little bit more, enjoy watching these guys compete and watching these guys try to get better in different pieces and how do they come together, and just know that it's probably going to be tough. Now, granted, offensively, if you can get a healthy quarterback that can operate your system, if your offensive line can withstand some growing pains as they get some experience, and you maybe have guys who better fit your system and allow you to kind of do more of what you want to do, maybe the way Alabama won last year, they can, still win some football games. Like, they still did beat some pretty good teams and went on a pretty good run there for a while. And they did it despite some extreme limitations, including not having a run game. So to sit here and say that they can't make any sort of run, I won't go that far at all. I think they can push for a playoff spot if some of these things come together. But what we quickly realized is there's a difference between making the playoffs and there's a difference between being a playoff contender and a national championship contender. And at this point, I'm not viewing this roster as being a national championship contender.
Yeah, no, and I'm that's exactly where I'm coming from when I give my outlook right now. And it's like you said, I think that, I said this yesterday on the show, I think the quicker people can kind of start to understand that, listen, in this day and age where we're at with college football, it's just not realistic to expect every year you're going to be a 12-0 type football team. It's just not. And I agree with you. To me, this team with the youth, I wouldn't be shocked if we're on that kind of fringe again, like that 9-3 area. If we play well enough and are trying to get a spot in the playoffs, I still agree that we're right now where we stand, not at that quite national title contender tier when it comes to who we have on this roster. However, that said, 2027 does appear to be a year that you are intrigued by, knowing, listen, all the youth that we have, you're going to lose a lot of guys in the secondary, but all the youth that you have up front, those guys will be a lot more developed, a lot more experienced. Your quarterback will be experienced, and you probably feel a lot better about that season. But I appreciate you having that objective view, because I know a lot of times it feels like I'm trying to fight a battle because I'll go off of what I see on tape and what I know from my experiences. Sometimes, people are like, what could this? I'm like, yeah, anything can happen. We're not saying that, but it's like you said. The comparison is, and that's how I view it. You lose LT Overton, you bring in Tompkins. We can be like, Tompkins is a good player, but is he giving you what you get out of LT? You would hope. But from what I've seen, I wouldn't say I expect him to give you more. And like we just said from the beginning of it, even with what we had last year, which we had good players, like, we might not have been elite, but we had some really good talent. And it still seemed like it wasn't quite enough at this point. And so that's kind of, where my head's at with it.
Well, and something else too is like, how did Alabama fans feel in week one watching Alabama play Florida State? after hearing a lot of the off-season chatter that we were all hearing coming from within the program, right? It looks so vastly different. I understand that the off-season conversations last year were a lot more fun when, you know, you're feeling like that this is a true national championship contending team. And yes, they made it to the playoffs, and yes, they did win a game in the playoffs. So you can sit there and say maybe it wasn't as far off as it felt after Florida State, but that kind of shell shock is what I'm trying to prevent. You know, that didn't feel good for me as someone that trusted. I didn't see it with my own eyes. I don't get to go to practice. And when I do, it's all warm-up stuff. It's all how they move and look. And I'm not seeing anything of significance. So I have to go off of what others tell me. And I trusted people who told me it looked a certain way. And then when they got out there against Florida State, who's the one left with the egg on their face? Is people like me. And you know, I don't know how you approach it, but it's people like you. So what I did was I learned my lesson. And I'm going to say, hey, there are some question marks here. There were some more question marks than probably I was willing to admit last year. And it's just because you're hearing these things, you're thinking, oh man, all these things are coming together. And on paper, it looks great. You look at the offensive line, you got potential 2 first-round draft picks. I think Parker Brailsford is a first-round talent. His size will keep him out of the first round, but I think if he was big enough, he would go in the first round. But I view Alabama as having had 2 day one talents on the offensive line this past year. They had 5 different players returning who had started 2 or more games along the offensive line, and they were adding another experienced SEC player in Cam Dewberry. I looked at the experience. I looked at, you know, to some extent the continuity and the talent, and I said, hey, I'm buying into this hook, line, and sinker based off of some of the things that I'm hearing. And then, you know, with a lot of the team, they bounced back from Florida State, but the offensive line was not terrible by any means, but it just based off of what we had heard and kind of a lot of the hype, it failed to live up to that hype. And what I don't want to do to people is potentially put them through that again. So, you know, I felt very bad about that, and I try to, you know, live and learn, and that's why I'm going to be honest now. I do see the vision at some of these spots, and I can see where it can get better. Do not get me wrong, and I'll continue to talk about that because there are some areas that really get me excited. Once again, I love the competition, and I love a lot of the options they have added. I just don't want to completely blow smoke all off season and then watch something happen. It's not going to happen against East Carolina, but just whenever they do finally play that tough game, like going to Kentucky, that's going to be pretty tough. So I'll be curious to see what it looks like for sure.
Yeah, no, listen, and I get it. That's last year. I'll be honest. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, Coach DeBoer is cool. Former players going up there. Plus, with me doing work with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I mean, I go up there and I try to like I had my concerns, but I'm like you. I try my best to point everything and spin it as positive as possible, right? Because that's what people want to hear. But I try to keep that objectivity because I know that's also important for my credibility. But I remember when like PFF, I think they had our offense lines like the #1 group, and me and my dad were on here, and we were like, I don't know if I see that, man. Especially even from what I had seen, I'm like, they're a good group, but I can't go as far as saying that. And I'll be honest, even with me knowing what I knew last year, I was shocked the way we looked Florida State game because I had gone to all the scrimmages during camp, and I remember the last fall camp scrimmage. I mean, the way the defense was playing, they were flying around. They were physical. They were forcing turnovers. So I watched Noah Carter. I think he had like 2 or 3 sacks. I'm like, damn, I didn't give him enough credit. He might step up at edge because I had question marks at the edge position. And I just remember going into the season, I was like, man, if I'm being completely honest, I thought we were probably about a 10-2 team. But I was like, man, if they keep on this trajectory, they might be better than I even think. And then we show up Florida State, and I said, hold up, what the hell just happened? I was like, because I think Josh Pate was at the second scrimmage too. I was there. And I remember because we both had the same kind of thought process, like, damn, I mean, that team looks like a pretty solid team. And then it was like the Florida State game happened. It just was like I couldn't even really wrap my head around it. But that kind of ended up being the story of really the last 2 years, I think right now, I would say, is the inconsistency where like there's clear potential there, man. But then the ones that you expect to show up for, we don't. And that part still kind of, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that piece out. And if I'm being honest, I think coaching needs to just make sure they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's. But we could go on a whole nother conversation about all that. But Clint, I don't want to hold you too long. Before I let you go, man, I got to ask you, because I know it's kind of random, but the Charles Bediako thing, you have any thoughts on that or know anything about what the hell is going on? Are we going to – I played a game earlier. I said, can we start selecting one Bama football player to bring back if he's on a practice squad or something and get him to suit up? if you had to pick one guy, Clint, that you could bring back for Alabama football, like Bediako, who would it be, man?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll need some time to think about that. But as far as Bediako is concerned, yeah, it kind of – what I'll say is I knew that this type of thing was coming. And what I will respect about Alabama is that they didn't say, well, we don't agree with it. We're not going to – if you Charles Bediako, if he is a part of the basketball roster moving forward, it completely, in my opinion, changes the outlook of their potential season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim to know a ton about basketball, but to me, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out just how big that would be. And you can tell by the level of outrage from people that are non-Alabama fans about the situation. But what I will say is that while I agree, play the game. I mean, if that's what they're going to, these types of things, that's suing people and doing all that, nowadays it just doesn't feel like it's about having the best players anymore. Like the most important thing is who has the best lawyers. And that's very unfortunate that we've reached that point with college athletics, but that's how I feel about it. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm not going to turn my nose up at Alabama for trying to, give themselves a competitive advantage that currently is, within the realm of possibility. So they're not doing anything to cheat. Everybody else is trying to make it happen. Everybody's going above the rev share agreement and all these things. They're using the things at their disposal to take advantage. And so Alabama basketball right now is doing the same. And so while I do not fault them at all, I wish that this was not the case for Alabama or anybody else. But this is just the current state of college athletics.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's why I said pretty much the same thing. I'm like, I ain't trying to fault them. If it's within the rules and you think it helps you be more competitive, have at it. But I'm just like, I hope this doesn't continue. But too, we had a caller that did say, I mean, he's not the first. I looked it up. I guess there has been another G League guy in the last year or two that was granted eligibility. So, I mean, it's not the first, but hopefully this isn't a trend, because I could see this start flowing over to football somehow and say, oh, well, he only played on the practice squad, so let him come back. That to me, at that point, I don't know. I probably would just have to take a break.
Completely agree.
Yeah, that's too much. Clint, man, I appreciate you as always. I appreciate you hanging out extra time. And before I let you go, you know the drill, man. Let everybody know where they can find all the great work that you do.
Yeah, you can catch me at Clint Lamb on Twitter. At Cover Crimson is the main Twitter account, and then we have the Daily Show on YouTube, Cover Crimson. If you like to listen to the podcast form, search the Cover Crimson Podcast Network on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. And as soon as we hear something, if we hear something on Javen James, the Mississippi State offensive tackle, I'll be going live and reacting. I've been keeping up with Mississippi State, so I have a little bit of experience with James, and so I'm looking forward to potentially talking about that and maybe what he could potentially add to Alabama's offensive line room. But Christian, as always, brother, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, yes, sir. No, thank you for coming on. Matter of fact, I forgot that you covered some Mississippi State. So I'll be tuning into that, because I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the young man. So I'll be tuning into the show, listening too, man. Clint, I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Good talking to you, Christian.
Yes, sir. You too. Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Big thanks to him, who joins us every single week, normally on Tuesdays, but he was nice, and then we pushed it back to Wednesday. And big thanks to him for doing that. Again, man, you hear it. Dude is man, he's on it when it comes to his intel and then breaking things down. He does the work extensively. That's why I enjoy getting him on here. And he's objective, but he's also great at his presentation with it, man. So you got to respect that. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. That's why I like Clint, man, because I hate to say it like this, but there's a lot of people that cover Alabama, man. They refuse to just call it straight. But Clint will call it straight, but he's also going to be very respectful. It's the same thing like we try to do on here. So I think it goes so well, man. Make sure you guys check him out. I know you guys already listen to Clint, but if you haven't, man, make sure you check them out. They do great work, man. They do great work. Brandon from DC with the $10 super chat, man. Brandon, I appreciate you, brother. The challenge with NIL and the transfer portal era is that you can't build for the future with players. You have to focus on coaching, fundamentals, and culture. Absolutely. OL and running back challenges are prime examples. Yeah, and that's what's interesting when we're talking about, like setting things up. And I'm all for, recruiting well and trying to develop the best you can. But when you're competing against teams that are going for that instant roster, right? You know what I mean? In terms of getting experienced players out of the portal. And then on top of that, how much can you rely that you will be able to retain all these great high school recruits that you have? You know, I mean, it's a tough game that these coaches are playing, right? I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, these coaches' jobs are much more difficult nowadays than it's ever been in terms of all the nuances that they have to deal with. But you're right. You know, it's tough to build for the future when it comes to any of this right now, just because there's not many guarantees. But you're right. Coaching, fundamentals, and culture. I mean, those have to be at like an all-time high. Yeah, I mean, they really do. And I'm big on the culture of it, man. Like, to me, like Indiana, culture. Miami feels like they got culture, but not at the same level as a team like Miami. It just felt a little bit different. Plus, you see, like, I wouldn't call it necessarily a mass exodus, but Miami has lost a lot of their depth pieces. So to me, that just goes to show you. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sure they probably recruited those guys and had, big plans for them. But if guys aren't playing, they just played a national championship game. They know there's going to be opportunities and compensation for it. They're out. So, yeah. And then OL is probably the toughest, man. OL, I mean, it's tough, man. I've seen it done both ways, though. Just a little bit harder to do it from within nowadays. But you're right, bro. You're 100% right. Our guy, Adam, with another super. Adam is insane. I'm telling you, man. Adam's a partner of the show at this point, officially. Adam's a partner of the show. We're still working on all that. But, Adam, seriously, man, thank you. As a matter of fact, let me pull this up. I should have had it pulled up knowing that my guy Adam's going to be here. But speaking of law, which Clint was just talking about, if you guys have any law needs, our guy Adam, in fact, is in the law space. So make sure you check him out. He's in the process of creating his own firm. So once all that gets done and official, I'll definitely make sure I continue to push that for you guys. I'm trying to pull it up because I know he gave me the info, and I want to make sure I get it. I want to say it's Lamparello-Law, if I'm not mistaken. I'll pull it up to get it exactly right for Adam. But, yeah, Lamparello-Law.com will be the website for all your law needs. And he's going to do things from law education advocacy, focusing on traditional legal representation, advising high school, college, and graduate students on applications, resume, personal statements, test prep, and exam strategy. You probably, Adam, really could help out a lot of these guys with NIL too, man. I might need to talk with you about that because I know some people that have these agencies, and you probably could be of great assistance when it comes to that. Seriously. But make sure you guys check out Adam when he gets all that stuff going. Again, Lamparello-Law.com will be the website. Adam says, Christian, I'll be honest. Recent champions, Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan won with brutal physicality. DeBoer is a great person and coach, but if his philosophy prioritizes finesse over physical dominance, he shouldn't be the coach at Alabama. Man, that's I'll say this. I mean, I stand by what we talked about yesterday, that I agree. When you look at the best teams, man, even in a world where a lot more spread offense, more explosivity, on offense, at the end of the day, man, you can't deny the teams that are the most physical, that are the most dominant in the trenches, have the ability to run the football. They play with an attitude. They have a well-established culture and identity to them. Listen, I mean, it never fails. It just doesn't fail. And I haven't given up on that with Coach DeBoer. I mean, listen, we call a spade a spade. I don't think any of his teams really had that type of identity. But I think, listen, I know people can change and adapt. And I just think if he is going to give himself the best chance at success, that's something he's going to have to adapt to. He's going to have to adapt his philosophy to, all right, we need more physicality. We need more dominance in the trenches. I mean, they had a Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. I mean, they've shown some ability to be pretty dominant. I think we're back. Hold on. And welcome back into this Hump Day edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big shout out to Clint Lamb joining us here on the show. Always great talking with him, man. Again, he shoots you straight, does it in a great way, and he obviously does his homework, man. And he, like you said, he's covered some Mississippi State. So the offensive tackle that's taking a visit right now to Tuscaloosa, potential portal addition, which I think would be huge. That we'll talk about, if that does happen, why that's important and how that kind of shifts my perspective on this offensive line going into next season. I'll make sure I'm tuned into their broadcast that they're going to do. So again, cover Crimson, like Clint said, he's covered Mississippi State, so he has a lot of background info and just experience covering the young man. So I'm going to be tuning into it. Hopefully you guys do the same. We got a cool super chat from Adam, and it's a great question. I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. Basically, I'll paraphrase, but he said, looking at the recent champions out of, the likes of Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, of course, they're all Big Ten. The thing they have in common is brutal physicality. And his question is, while Coach DeBoer is a great coach, great person, it just seems like his philosophy over the last, if you go back and look at his football teams, haven't necessarily had that same identity of brute physicality and dominance up front. Do you guys think that still can work? My answer was, to be honest, I think if he's going to give himself the best chances of having success here, he's going to have to adapt that, to his philosophy. I always say this, like, you can rely on passing the football. I mean, hell, when Lane Kiffin was here, we threw the ball a whole hell of a lot. Our quarterbacks had great numbers. Our receivers had phenomenal numbers. But guess what we also did well? We ran that damn ball. And we played physical up front. We threw the running game was to set up the passing game, right? It was a complement to it. So if I was Coach DeBoer, I think in terms of, adapting more of that philosophy, I mean, that would be one of my number one priorities. It would, establishing the trench play up front, because that will in turn fix so many other issues. It will. And I'll be honest, I mean, and not to sound critical, but I don't think the West Coast style, pass heavy air raid type, to me, I don't see those offenses being consistent, and I don't see them having the same level of success as a team that has, true dominance up front, can run the football very effectively, and is a lot more balanced. So we'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see. But I want to get y'all's thoughts on that, because that's a great talking point. I mean, how confident are you in this system and the philosophy of it through 2 years? I think that's a really good talking point. Great question by Adam, per usual, man. So shout out to our guy, Adam, and shout out to Lamparello Law, which they'll be finalizing all that stuff soon. Lamparello-law.com. Make sure you guys check out our guy, Adam, for any needs, or if you need training, prep, or all that good stuff. Shout out to our guy, Adam. All right, let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. I think we got Jarvis up next. Jarvis, welcome in.
How's it going?
Welcome back, Jarvis. All right, now listen. I heard that the fan talk sounded so smooth, and then I had to get some pushback, man. We had to get down to the nitty gritty. So, talk to me, Jarvis. What you got today, brother?
Man, I just want to backtrack off the question that we have up now.
Yeah,
that is a great question. I think we do need to establish that type of philosophy. Coach need to get that dominant and that dominancy as far as in the coach, in the players, and that it will come from the coach's evaluation. So you gotta go get them dogs that's hungry. Now things has changed. It's very important to find out what is the kids' why and will to want to play football. Just besides all the other stuff, the money, the contracts, the NIL. Besides all that, what is your reason why you want to play this game? Are you playing this game for the love of the game, or are you playing this game to get to where you need to get to? So we need to find them dogs that is hungry and that have the passion and love for this game. And when I was playing football, I remember in high school, my coaches, when they was developing us, they were also growing and learning as coaches. Because each year our team dynamic was different. So you have to get the understanding, the feel of your players in that locker room. Because that's what's going to determine your type of team you're going to have that next season or during that season. You got some dogs in that locker room, you're going to have a dog team. So that's the way I look at it. But just to piggyback on the question, I do agree with it. We do need to establish that in our culture of the DeBoer culture, not Nick Saban culture, but the DeBoer culture, where he has, if I understand he's not that dog mentality type of coach, head coach, but you need to get some staff dogs coaches on their team. There are some dog coaches that can go get them dog players.
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right, and that's what I always said too, because it's not always just like a straight all right, okay, he's not necessarily that type of guy, so okay, they're not going to have it. I agree 100%. It doesn't always have to be. If it's not him, you have to have the other people around you, whether that's the coordinators, have a strength and conditioning guy who spends a whole bunch of time with the player. Like it helps when the head coach has that type of persona. But you can always still, just like you see like the hires that he's made. I mean, bringing a guy like Courtney Morgan with them in terms of being in charge of the recruiting. Not to knock Coach DeBoer and say he can't recruit, but let's just be honest. You need somebody like a Courtney Morgan to assist you with that, with those relationships, to be in charge of that, to complement some of the things that you might not necessarily always do best. And that's a very common thing. And I'm with you. I think if he can find ways to kind of fill some of those deficiencies, maybe that might be there, I think that's only going to give him the best chance possible of having success. Because, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it's all about perspective. And you look on one end, it's like, well, even with the way they do things as new staff, I mean, they made it to an SEC championship game. They made it to the playoffs. So, I mean, it's not necessarily too far off. But then you kind of, if you dig a little bit deeper and really dissect it, one could argue, well, if you look at how we lost some of those games, maybe it is a little bit further off than it seems on the surface. So, I mean, it's really interesting, man. And I guess it's really just, time will tell and see how they can adjust and adapt and make the necessary changes to ultimately help this team have the best chances of having success.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like we got that tackle that's coming in, and both of our quarterbacks are right-handed. So we bringing in a left tackle on that blind side is very important with the experience he have. So I'm definitely hoping that we will get a chance to get the opportunity to get this kid, because we definitely need an experienced left tackle on that blind side of our quarterbacks, because both of them are right-handed quarterbacks. So we definitely need an experienced quarterback on that side.
That would make – listen, if we land a left tackle with some experience now, I haven't watched this tape. You guys know me, or if you don't, I wait to give any type of true opinion or analysis until I get to see him with my own eyes. I don't go off anything. I don't go off numbers. I go off of what I see. So I need to watch him. But the fact that he started, I think it said like 9 games, that makes me feel better that, hey, the guy at least started 9 games in this conference. Now, we don't know what he was doing in those 9 games. We'll have to see. But if you bring a guy in like that makes me feel a little bit better. Not a whole bunch necessarily just yet, because, I still have to see all the other pieces. But if he's experienced at left tackle, maybe the Haywood guy can bump down and play some guard and compete there. The center I like that we brought in from Cal Poly, he just has to, get adapted to this next level from coming from Cal Poly to the SEC in Alabama. And I like Michael Carroll, and I like Will Sanders. So, I mean, I think if you get an experienced left tackle, it helps you just feel a little bit more confident with this offensive line, which I think is really going to be, just like I said last year, the offensive line, I think they're almost going to be the key to how far this team can go. And I definitely feel like that, if not more, this upcoming season.
Totally agree. Chris, I want to ask you a question. I'm not going to hold you up too long.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, just from your background and your experience, I want to get your opinion on something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the landscape of evaluating players has changed, or do you think that can still be the same as in the previous decade?
So you're saying like the evaluation process? Do I think it's changed with NIL and transfer portal type deal? Is that what you're saying?
No. Not. We just want to just cross out as far as the NIL deal, as far as just pure evaluation of skill set, because like when it comes to players, you have talent, but talent cannot just be. You can't just go off talent when it comes to any type of sports, and then when it comes to football, you can't go off just pure talent. All right, you have to have some type of skill technique about the individual from the high school, whether it be from the high school ranking, the JUCO, or the portal. Right. Do you think by the evolution of the way college football is going, do you think that evaluating players is this changing?
I don't think it's necessarily changed. I mean, I think breaking down football and evaluating talent is always going to be just that. I mean, I just think it takes the right eye, the right person, you know what I mean, that has a knack for doing that and knowing what to look for. I don't think if anything, I think the biggest change will be right now. There's so much activity with the portal that unfortunately there's probably fewer high school players that have the ability to be evaluated thoroughly, because a lot of teams are starting to shift their, philosophy to focusing on some of those guys that are already in the college ranks. But I know for me, man, I just like when I watch tape, I'm not saying I'm some NFL scout or whatever. I just know, man, I know what I'm looking for, right? So like if I'm watching the defensive lineman, or if he's an interior guy, I know what I'm looking for in terms of, his ability to stop the run. I know what I'm looking for when it's passing down situations when he's rushing the passer, like traits, even starting from, the body type that he has to work with, right? And then just tools, techniques. Is it something that a coach could help develop? Is it something that he's just limited? Is he a stiff player? Like stiffness, you can't really coach much. So if a guy has stiff hips, doesn't turn the corner well, doesn't bend well, you can't really coach that. Hell, we could put him on some Pilates and help a little bit, but if he doesn't bend well, he's you know what I'm saying? I can't take somebody that's stiff and turn him into Von Miller. You know what I mean? Like I can make him get a little bit lower on the edge. It's a little bit lower, but I can't make him, touch his ankles stuff. You know what I mean? If he can't do it. So it's an evaluation process is interesting. I just think it takes the right eye for it. But yeah, I don't think that's changing too much. More so, it's just less guys probably are being evaluated due to the transfer portal and all that. But great question and great stuff as always, Jarvis. I appreciate you calling back, man. Great talking to you, brother.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yes,
have a great day.
You too, brother. Good deal, man. We got to hit a quick timeout. We come back. We'll wrap things up briefly real quick on the radio side of things. I'll hang out for a few minutes on the stream, answer some last-minute questions right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
If you find your
Oh man, I need some water, man. Oh, I need some water. That's a good question. I mean, I in terms of evaluating, man, I just think you just got to have the right people doing it, man. You really do. Because there's going to be so many guys that get overlooked. I mean, because maybe they don't have the resources to get to camps. Maybe they don't have a coach who's actively trying to, send stuff out or have relationships, whatever the case may be. But that's why it's so important, man. If a kid can attend like these college camps, I mean, these coaches get to see them up. I mean, because I go out there and help the Alabama football camps. I've been doing it for years. I just enjoy going up there and doing it. And you just have an eye, right? Like you'll see a kid. If you see a kid that's working the camp, or that's working out at the camp, they normally have like the Bama group where they have the guys that are like prospects or recruits. The kids that pay, they're separate. There's always like a separate group. I mean, you can see, right? And there's guys that are late bloomers. They don't necessarily look the part. But you can just see like they got something you can work with. But then there's others you watch and like, yeah, I mean that dude can play some football. Like I'll be like Yonze Pierre. Like I watched Yonze. It was either at camp or it was when he was at a 7-on-7. And I just remember watching him move. I'm like, yeah, he has a chance to be a good football player for us off the edge. And now he's really coming into it. I think his first couple years felt kind of like how I was. Like, he looked a lot more active, in high school where there's a lot more freedom than once you get in like a college system. Sometimes you feel a little bit more restrained. And now he's kind of opening it back up. Wait, what was going on in the chat? Because I saw there's a bunch of probably responding to Adam's question. Adam's question is a damn good question. Everyone runs the air raid in some way now. DeBoer doesn't seem to appreciate the run game the way Kiffin, who also runs. Yeah, and see, that's like the shocker about Kiffin is if you go back and watch him at Ole Miss, I mean, they're one of the better rushing teams. Maybe I don't know about last year's stats, so I think it was like a year before. Like Ole Miss's running game, I mean, it's a lot better than you would anticipate because they do run that spread system. But it's similar to like Tennessee, right? Tennessee has that spread system, but they're looking to spread you out, and they definitely are going to continue to run the football. They're one of the better, have one of the better rushing teams in the conference for a couple years, and they have more of a spread type system, right? So that's why I was saying it's not so much like you can still run the ball, you still can be physical, even in a system like that, but it has to be your identity, it has to be your culture, and you have to commit to it. That's why I said I wouldn't say like I'm like, oh well, DeBoer's thing's not going to work. He just has to adapt. He has to adjust and adapt his system even more. I mean, that year at Washington when they went to the championship game, I mean, they had a 1,000-yard rusher. You know, you just gotta find ways to get that back. But I need to go back and watch that whole year a little bit more because I didn't watch them extensively. Only, you know, a little bit later in the year, some of those games. Indiana's not the standard. Let's start with this Indiana comparison. Yeah, Indiana's a little bit like they're the standard if you're talking about great scheme, great coaching, great culture, elite level of execution, like all that stuff, sure. But in terms of like developing a team or building a team, way off size. Thanks, guys, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out and supporting. Seriously, if you guys haven't, man, check their stuff out too, man. They do a nice job as well. But in terms of like the building aspect, I don't know if I would say they're the standard there because it's a little bit different. And welcome back into this Hump Day edition. Chase about to blow them speakers in your car with that jersey drop. I like that, man. I like that. It's a good beat, man. We only got like a minute or so we're gonna wrap things up on radio. I'm gonna hang out on the stream for about maybe 10-15 minutes today. I always say that I end up being here like way longer than expected, but today I might take a break, man. I'm not gonna lie. I need to rest my voice, I think. That said, Chase, I'm trying to think if there's any final comments. Again, big thanks to Clint Lamb, who joins us every week here on the Miller's Edge. He does a phenomenal job. Check them out if you haven't already. Cover Crimson on YouTube, on X. Clint R. Lamb is his personal. Does a really good job. I really appreciate him coming on here each week and all the stuff that he does covering the team and college football. Also, tomorrow, we will be joined by former Alabama offensive lineman Mike Johnson, who covers the Atlanta Falcons right now, but also covers Alabama, does a great job with his radio show and all the stuff that he works on. He'll be joining us tomorrow at the top of the hour. We're going to be discussing offensive line play in depth, talking about this past season, maybe kind of what we could do moving forward, you know, what this portal class might look like, all that good stuff. We'll do that with Mike here on the show, top of the hour as well. And I think Friday looks like a free-for-all Friday, so we'll just be wide open as of now. But again, big thanks to all our listeners, Tide Under .9, Chase Reed, and all the folks behind the glass that make everything possible. Then, of course, all you guys that support the show in any manner. We appreciate everything, all the likes, all the financial contributions, all that good stuff, man. You guys are awesome. And our sponsors, of course, can't forget about them. All right, we got hit this final timeout. We're done here, but we'll be back tomorrow right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide Under .9, 1230, WTBC.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
All right, I'm gonna hang out on the stream real quick and answer some of these questions, but give me 2 seconds because I think my dog wants some water or something. Give me 2 seconds. Where's that tab at? Not that one. I'll let you guys watch this.
He was seen as brilliant, difficult,
You think you played Alabama football today?
ambitious.
Has anybody ever given you anything in your life?
He cares about the person.
Nick Saban is
the face of college football.
scariest man in college football.
Greatest coach in any sport.
There'll never be another Nick Saban.
Is this where you want me?
He was seen as brilliant, difficult,
You think you played Alabama football today?
ambitious.
Has anybody ever given you anything in your life?
He cares about the person.
Nick Saban is
The face of college football.
scariest man in college football.
Greatest coach in any sport.
There'll never be another Nick Saban.
Is this where you want me?
All right. Go watch some tape. Oh, man. I told myself I wasn't going to stay too long, guys. My sinuses with all this weather and stuff, man. I bet headache and all that. Should we watch his tape for like 5 minutes? Yeah, no, Poe, I don't, or Dwight, I didn't think they ran a whole bunch, but they at least had some level of success where they were able to have 1,000-yard rusher, right? I mean, we weren't even sniffing that this year, you know. And I think at this point, you'd almost be a fool to, not you guys, I'm just saying in general, right? Like, it would be foolish to think that they magically would just start running the ball 30 plus times a game, and I just don't see that. But yeah, you guys are nice. Go get some food and rest. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I've been working myself thin, man. Like sitting on here, I'm not gonna lie. Like 2 hours of radio is one thing, then sitting on here another hour and a half and breaking down tape. So I ain't gonna lie. The past couple weeks, I'm like, oh God. Yeah, I'll probably stick with that. I probably won't sit here too long, but especially if he ends up not committing here, I'm gonna be pissed that I sat on here and watched that guy's tape. Now, best believe when it win or if he commits, we're gonna break that damn tape down. We're gonna break that tape down for sure. Yeah, Mike covers the Falcons. He's got a radio show in Atlanta, and he works, I think, with like the Falcons broadcast team. Kind of similar to what I do here. But yeah, I'm gonna wait. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to Mike tomorrow though, because I want to get his insight on offensive line play, all that good stuff. And yeah. San Christian and other y'all are wild, man. So watch some tape. Yeah, he does. I think I've seen him on is Coker still doing stuff with Mick? I'm sure he does. I just feel like I hadn't seen him doing as much. I feel like I used to see their stuff all the time. I feel like I haven't seen Coker as much, but maybe I'm making that up. Is it as often? Like, is everything still the same? I don't know why. I feel like I just haven't seen it. It was a group effort last season. Backs weren't that good. Bad scheme by Grubb. Line not executing. Yeah, no, 100%. You know us, Smitty. We say it all the time. That's why I said I hate to say this, but like the O-line was not great, but I don't think they're necessarily as bad as some people will say, if that makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong, they were not great. But to be fair, I mean, they had moments where they were okay. Yeah, I've seen Shank a lot. I just hadn't seen Coker as much. But I'll be honest, I don't catch like every episode, but I'll see like clips, and I feel like I've only seen clips of like Shank, or I think I've seen Mike on there. I hadn't seen Coker as much. It's hard for me to watch a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll be honest with you guys, because I mean, I spend so much time, working on my own stuff that when I get done from here, the last thing I want to do is continuously watch or talk about even more football, because I'm already having to study and do stuff myself. So it's hard for me to catch everybody's stuff. But no, there's a lot of people that do great stuff. Oh, wait, I got to answer your question, Christian. Would you commit this staff and scheme? Initially, I was like, man, this scheme would be a lot better for a outside backer like myself, a little bit of a hybrid. Because with us, man, we had to play tight 5-6 techniques. You can't get great, rush angles out of that. And I thought I probably would have, enjoyed it. But after seeing some more of like which I still think it would, like for like my position, I think it would be a pretty solid scheme. Like Womack would always scratching his ear, I think. Womack would always kind of joke around like that when I would be up there at like practices or helping out those camps or whatever. You all right, buddy? But anyways, he's always like, man, yeah, you would have killed it in this defense. But to answer your question, I mean, it's kind of I don't like. Here's the thing. I mean, like I think for my position it would have been solid, but there are some things in this defense that I don't know. Like I could have seen myself like not wanting to do a whole bunch of the like when they go to that like 3-3 stack kind of deal. I mean, I probably wouldn't have wanted to necessarily do that. But I think I would have been fine in this system in terms of like the staff and everything. Here's the thing, guys. If I was coming out of high school, it'd be different. It's hard for me to answer that. This is my biggest thing. Hold on, let me open this door for him. Sorry. No, I got 3. I got 3, but that one that's barking, man. He's an old pit bull, man. I got him when I was in college, man. So he just he marched to the beat of his own drum. So like he just randomly, like he'll be sleeping like all day, then he'll randomly just sit there and just bark to get like something that I don't know. It's just like he just wanted to go outside. He just sit there and bark. But I got a pit bull, I got a lab, and I got a mini golden doodle. I got like literally like one of all. But no, to answer that question, no, like the problem with me like answering that right now was that like I get stuck on like what I came from with Coach Saban. I'm just gonna be completely transparent. Playing for Coach Saban and then being a part of like his staffs, not being a part of it, like I was on staff, but like you know what I mean, like learning from those staffs and being in that environment. When I see things that aren't done a certain way, it's hard for me to get behind it, if I'm just being completely honest with you. Just because I know how do you explain? Like I know how to I don't know. Like you just imagine just being a part of something that literally is like we had so much success, like Coach Saban had so much success. So it's like if I see something that isn't necessarily operating the way that, you know what I mean? Or like not necessarily the same, but even just kind of like following a lot of just like some of the small details, and it's hard for me to I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think you guys kind of get what I'm trying to explain. No, I think he has a I forgot what it's called, but he had like an ear infection and then he scratched his ear a lot. And then what happened was it's like he's got like it's almost like cauliflower ear, but for dogs. So it's got like some inflammation in it. I don't know what the term is, but it's like cauliflower ear for dogs. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like I don't know, man. So it's hard for me to answer that question because in my head, I'm like, man, like when you like seeing the way we did everything and seeing like again, like literally it's a prime example, like seeing this notebook right here on the screen, right? This game plan, right? So dense and just seeing the attention to detail on a daily basis. It's hard when I'm seeing it done other ways that I don't know. So like if I'll put it like this. If I was here a year with Coach Saban and this new staff came in, it probably would be a little bit tough for me to get adjusted, if I'm being completely honest with you. But if I was coming out of high school and I didn't know any different between stuff, then I think I probably would enjoy the staff. I mean, again, they got the coaches do well with recruiting, and a lot of guys like their coaches. And again, the scheme allows you to have a lot of flexibility and kind of just play football. So that's what I'm saying. Like for a lot of high schoolers and stuff, I think it's somewhat ideal. But I think if you come from a more advanced system, sometimes I think there could be a little bit of not necessarily doubt, but you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. You got to imagine guys that came like that were here with Coach Saban's system, and then you move to a new system with Coach Womack, which I'm not saying it's a bad system, but it doesn't have the same level of complexities of some things. The way you're being coached up is different. I mean, it's an adjustment as a player. And the reason I know how that feels is because, like, when I got to the Panthers, it felt like that. It felt like I went down when I went to the Panthers because the way we were being coached up in our system and scheme didn't even really feel comparable to what I did in college. That's literally how in depth the defense was that I ran at Alabama. That when I got to the Panthers, I was like I remember my coaches would be trying to like tell us and coach us up to do stuff, but I'm just like, that's not smart. I clearly wouldn't say that, but I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, why would we do that? And sure enough, I mean, our run defense was god awful. And like they're sitting there coaching us, like we're doing drills and they're coaching us to just penetrate and fly up field. And I'm like, it's like 1st and 10. I'm like, that's just stupid. Like, I hate to sound like that, but I just remember thinking that in my head. I'm like, it's not smart football. But that's a really good question, though. But yeah, and I think at the end of the day, when you know something works, I mean, not even just with him. I mean, again, like look at all his coaches from his coaching tree who best believe they run and operate their system / culture and program in the likes of how he did. I mean, they all the playoffs were littered with former Saban assistants. So there's a method to the madness, man. In terms of that book being for one game, I'm not 1,000% sure. That might be. I mean, the game one is going to be smaller. I think that's more of like his system. The game one is. I mean, it's a little bit smaller. It ain't that much smaller, but I mean that's for a game. So I think that one's probably like the actual system, like all the installs. That's going to consist of like all of the day one install, base packages, sub packages, third down, run game stuff, all that good stuff. Yeah, if you're used to something being done a certain way, it's hard to adapt sometimes, especially when the way you're used to is, yeah, exactly. I mean, just so successful sometimes it's kind of hard to. What was Smitty saying? I think Smitty was falling back on. What do you say? Smitty be trying to disguise in here like he's objective. Sometimes, man, his glasses start coming back on, man. That's the thing. Coach don't need that money though. Coach, he's got so many opportunities already, but game book a specific position or all the defense. All the defense. But like we would have like our position coach would hand out like specific packets for us with our position. And then we have tips and reminders in the test. So like every Friday we would get tested on our game plan for that game. Like no BS. I mean, like we legit would get tested on the game plan. So like Fridays when we would be in the hotel, we would get like the assistant to our position coach would pass out our tips and reminders sheet and then the test. And so we'd have to go in and it'd be like boxes of like formations and it would give us the play call. And then we'd have to pencil in basically all the not all the responsibilities. We'd have to do like both outside backers and then like the D line too. We didn't have to do like the secondary or anything like that, but we would get graded on it and stuff. But everybody does that. We did that in the NFL too. Mario Addison used to just copy me and Brian Burns' test because he was a bad. He didn't care. He knew everything. He got in trouble. Our position coach got mad at him. They legit about they about start fighting in the meeting room because of it. Because our position coach got mad because he was just copying our tests, and he found out he just was copying our stuff. But all right, I'm gonna grab some lunch. What we'll do is we'll watch that tape on that tackle probably tomorrow, whether he commits or not. Just because we haven't watched somebody in a minute. Wait, somebody asked me about Terrence Green real quick. I meant to answer that. Oh, Smith, he said, do you think Terrence Green's biggest contribution could be guys playing their natural positions? That's a great point. I think kicking London Simmons to a 3 technique, I think he can have a great year at the 3. But yeah, I think Terrence Green, that middle, if he can help kind of supplement what you lost out of Tim Keenan, is eating up blocks, being a physical presence at nose, that'll be very beneficial. Hopefully Beeman can come back healthy. A lot of people are excited about him before the injury. And I think it starts taking shape. That's why, like when we were talking about with Clint, it's not to sound pessimistic or even like that this team can't go and accomplish good things. It's just the way he said it, I don't know why I hadn't been able to kind of word it like that. Like when fans, for example, I think one of the guys that was still in here recently, he had is it MDC? He was basically saying, well, we can't be worse. And I'm like, again, you got to be careful saying that. You can always be worse. Trust me. The offensive line play could definitely be worse from what it was this year. Don't think that it can. I'm not saying it will be, but that's always a possibility. You can always get worse. But to Clint's point, when people are being objective, I guess what they're trying to point out is last year you had who you had, and it looked how it looked, and it ended up how it ended up. Are the guys that you're bringing in to fill these holes, are you confident that they can even do the same job as to some of the guys you just lost? And if so, cool. But the next step is what the guys did last year still wasn't enough. We needed even better. And I think that's the perspective that I've been trying to explain to our listeners, that's kind of the approach I have. That's a great example. You lose LT Overton to the draft. You bring in Tompkins. I watched a lot of Tompkins tape. I think he's got potential, a big body guy, probably some untapped potential. But do I think he can be as good or better than LT Overton? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Personally, I don't. I think at the best he probably would give you about what you got out of LT Overton. That's in my opinion, I think that's probably the best case scenario. Because LT Overton, if you go watch the tape, he's a damn good player, man. Physical against the run, had pass rush ability. That's what I'm saying. If I'm keeping it a buck, he's not as good as LT Overton. Right now, from the tape I watch, he's not as good as LT Overton. I'm just gonna be transparent. Let me stop trying to sugarcoat stuff. He's not as good as LT Overton. I'm not saying he can't develop and do good stuff, but if I'm comparing LT Overton to the Tompkins guy, it's not close. I think Tompkins has potential, but what LT did great was LT was physical and was a run defender, but also could get after the quarterback. Now Tompkins has elite size and measurables and all that, but that stuff doesn't matter. Sometimes people get too caught up in that. At the end of the day, it's about what you do on the football field. And LT Overton's a football player. And we can talk about him not finishing on sacks, whatever. Well, you're talking about a dude that could play in that 4-eye technique, could play in a 5, heavy-handed, physical, stop the run, also was very actively, pressuring the quarterback. I don't think you're replacing that production out of anybody that we have right now. Yeah. Alpha, I'm sure you've probably watched it then. And that's not a knock on anybody. People might take that the wrong way. I hope they don't. I'm not talking bad on anybody. That's just, my football opinion. I mentioned, like with Quay Russo, I know people are like, oh, well, he's not really replacing Quay, but I'm just saying, I'm like, oh no, but Quay could have been a part of the team and he ended up leaving. You bring in a guy like Renaud and you bring in a guy like Zulu, watching Zulu's tape again, I agree with my dad that he's a good player, but is he better than, or is he going to contribute more than what Quay Russo would have probably contributed? I don't think so. Personally, I don't. I think he can give you some snaps and be a good player. But again, that's what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, the next question always goes back to, this is Alabama. Do we want, oh, yeah, they can play? Or do we want physical dominant dudes to reestablish that standard? That's how my mind thinks. Does this guy help us get to that point? If not, to me, that's the lateral move. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. People, LT might have been a little bit more quiet. I know at the end of the year, he missed a few games with the medical stuff he had going on. But I don't like, that's what I'm saying. But that's people probably just only looking at like stats. If you go watch the tape and you realize how instrumental the LT and then the drop off to like Renaud, Keon Keeley, and all those other, I mean, it's not even close. I mean, like literally, it's not even close. That's why, like, yeah, you could say LT needed to finish more, but people often overlook. I mean, like, pressures are damn near almost as important as sacks. I mean, people get caught up in the sacks category sometimes, but it's really about affecting the quarterback. And who did you constantly see in the backfield pressuring the quarterback? 22. And who did you constantly see being a dog up front for the most part, right? Stopping the run is LT, man. That's a hard piece to replace. So that's just my mindset, guys. Which all you guys know, especially the folks that hang out here after the show. You guys already know what it is. I mean, that's a lot of production and a big piece you're losing, and we lost a lot of depth. I'm just curious how it plays out. Like I said, I just think it's I don't know. I think it was a little bit misjudged, but also think it's very, very reliant on development. And I just in this day and age in college football, you just can't over rely on that, man. You just can't. Especially you look at Lane. Lane got to LSU. That dude is working that portal like a mug. I think he's about to get that edge guy from Ole Miss. And he's probably going to land Seton, that tackle. Zulu has a brother. Now, I know Miami has a bunch of guys in the portal. I don't know if any of those guys end up being potential additions, but I mean, the majority of them are depth pieces, but I'm sure there's probably some decent players if you just need bodies or potential. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you kind of do have two people. I mean, because that's my thing about like who we're bringing in. Like Zulu's not an ideal bandit in terms of a down-to-down basis. If you're still going to be getting to those odd fronts out of nickel, which might have him in a 4-eye, he's not ideal there. But in a 5, just going in there and rotating in, I think. I mean, he's a great depth piece for sure. But in terms of like how much we need, it's just what I'm saying. The more I can elaborate on this, I think it would make more sense for some people before they get frustrated. They'll understand kind of, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. Like the demands that we had on defense, I just don't see the guys that we brought in. I don't see them answering all of those things. Yeah, I'm going to check out that Mississippi State tackle, but I'm going to grab some lunch, guys. Go kick back for a little bit. Appreciate you guys as always. If you haven't, hit that like button on the way out. You guys already know the drill. Tomorrow we'll have Mike Johnson. We'll talk a lot of O-line tomorrow for sure. Get some answers from him. Get some good ball talk going. And keep on rolling. So look forward to seeing you guys then.